Okay, now that we've done the sidewalk, the next step is going to be to add in some buildings. And I want to go over now how to create an alley or a driveway between a couple of buildings. So the first step is going to be to put in your first building. So like I said before, we want our front building to maybe be a little shorter than some of the other ones. That just gives us some more variety. So we're going to think of this as we're looking down from a second story balcony. So this building in the front, we want that front corner to not go quite to that horizon line, because if it goes to the horizon line, then we're looking directly at it. We want to be able to see the top of it, just to give you guys something extra to draw on this one. So you want to think about what kind of building you would want in the front. Maybe it's like a small restaurant or a little convenience store. Kind of depends on what you want to make. So from that front corner, you're going to go to your 2 vanishing points. I'm just going to draw this quickly for you. The top of the building will be shown because you're looking down on it a little bit. Alright, so this is the back corner right there. So that's the front of our main building in the front. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space between here before I start the next building, so we can see a little bit of an alley or a driveway. You can even make it like a little park, an area with grass. It really depends on what you want your city to look like. So to do this, we're going to leave some space between this building and the next one. So we're going to start with the corner of the next building. So I'm going to come over a couple spaces on our sidewalk, and I'm going to draw a new vertical line, keeping it as straight as I can. So lining up my ruler with the edge of the paper is a good way to help make sure that it is straight. This building is going to be a little bit taller, so I'm going to go above my horizon line for that one. Then you're going to do the same steps we've been doing, going from the top of that building to each vanishing point. And this time, we're also going to need to draw the bottom part of this building because we can see the bottom edge. So from here, line up our ruler with that bottom corner, bring it to this vanishing point, and I'm going to draw that line until it hits the other building that we drew. So that space right here is an area between our 2 buildings. So I could add in, like I said, I could make that a sidewalk, we could make it, or I'm sorry, a driveway, it could be a parking lot, we could make some benches in there, make it like a little park. You could add tables, so maybe it's like an outside eating area for this little restaurant. It's up to you. This is where you get to be creative and decide what all of these buildings are. So we also have to finish off our building with the back edge of it, so we can draw that in wherever we see fit. And the opposite end of the building will go in down here. So this is a pretty easy technique as long as you think about leaving space. You don't have to leave space between all your buildings, but you're welcome to, just to create some space between them. If you don't want it to look like a super crowded city, you would probably have some space between each of them. If you want it to be more of a larger city where things are crowded, you can just start another building like connected to this one. So if I don't leave space between my buildings, I will just extend this line here to however tall I want this next building to be. So this is, again, the corner of that building. We'll go down to the vanishing point, to both vanishing points, I should say. And this one will go back behind our front building. Now, one thing you might want to consider when you're looking at these different buildings is how deep they are. So if this building is as deep as this one, you want them to be like the same depth, so the backs of them line up too. This one is going to go all the way to where this corner is. So let me show you that so it makes a little bit more sense. If our building back here lines up the same depth as this building, the back edge is going to line up with our corner here. So I'm going to need to extend this line to our vanishing point so that they line up. And here is the opposite edge of that building. So now these 2 buildings are right next to each other. They're the same depth back. This one looks a little bit different because it's up taller than our vanishing point. So it's almost like this one has a second story compared to this building. It's almost twice as tall. So that means that this line is going to be going down. It's going away from us. So when you're drawing your buildings, you need to kind of step back, think about what it should look like, look at it while you're working, and if something looks a little strange, check your vanishing points to make sure all of your lines are going to the right place. Since all of these buildings so far are basically just a cube or a rectangle, every single line that you draw will be vertical or will go to a vanishing point. There's never any need for another type of line, a diagonal line, unless you wanted to make like a rooftop as you did in one of those practice papers. You're welcome to try something like that, but it is a little bit more complicated. So if you want to make things a little easier on yourself, keep it simple and stick with the regular rectangle shapes.